Looking at social distancing measures, I disagree with the entire lockdown concept. And I've had multiple fights over this with people, and I say fights because they were not simple disagreements.
Good morning.
How have you been? It's been ages we connected.
Maybe a year and a half years since I was in Karachi.
Yes.
Well, the world is different than when we last caught up, right? We were
Very different.
we could go wherever we wanted to and do whatever we wanted to do, but yeah, a little bit more challenging these days. It would be really nice to get a bit of a background for the audience as well on your backstory, how you've managed to get to this particular point in your life.
I had this passion to study psychology, and I always wanted to know how people operate, what makes them tick, really. Why do people act the way they do? My master's was in public health, but at the same time, I focused a lot on women and maternal depression to kind of understand what they go through. I started working with a development sector organization to kind of help build the capacity in terms of public health for laboratories. And it's been a bit of a roller coaster journey, but like I'm really enjoying myself. But then this all happens.
So you've moved cities now to Islamabad. Previously, we're in Karachi. The population of Karachi, just for some perspective, is the population of the country of Australia, jammed into a city. With things like social distancing and I guess kind of like public health measures, how is that even realistic in a city like Karachi or Islamabad with the population density to even consider these measures?
There was never a time where the tertiary care was not overly burdened. I personally feel, and there may be people who may refute me, but I just personally feel that the health system is going to collapse sooner or later. Most countries, most developing nations, do not have a very structured public health service, and most of these services that are being provided in the private hospitals, they're private. They are for the ones who can pay for it. Now, keeping those two things majorly in mind, one, the economic fact, and one, the fact that access and availability is a major issue in terms of primary care. Looking at social distancing measures is just, I disagree with the entire lockdown concept. And I've had multiple fights over this with people, and I say fights because they were not simple disagreements. I've been volunteering for a few organizations, and I primarily just call people up to take their information to understand how we can help them best. Initially, when you started calling people, there was this gratitude you'd feel from them that, oh my God, someone is trying to help me. But as time is passing by, it's changing into fear, restlessness, anger, emotions that are going to, they will evolve. And the more they evolve, they're not going to go towards a nicer, brighter side. They're going to be more negative. The vibes are going to be more negative. Females who used to be happy-go-lucky have all of a sudden now started, they're just not the same. When you speak to them and you try to tell them that, hey, I'm here, first thing is they're like, you can't save me from the domestic violence I'm going through. Because you're stuck at home now. There is no job. Your husband, your father-in-law, your father, your mother, they don't know what to do with their life. So, when people don't know what to do and they're stuck at home, they react in the worst possible manner. And then the constant stress and worry that you don't know what happens next, you don't know where life is going to go. It just adds on to that burden. So yes, I do feel like in terms of social distancing, we need to wear a mask, we need to use a sanitizer, and that can be easily made publicly available. But at the same time, I do feel that a lockdown is not the right way to go. I mean, we can't even imagine the economic crisis that is going to hit us after this.
I guess in terms of specifically with the pandemic, with COVID-19, I guess the cultural aspect of Pakistani life, you're sort of in the midst of a festive season. How has the pandemic affected cultural life in Pakistan?
I've always lived in Karachi, right? And Karachi loves to celebrate. Give it a reason, I will celebrate. Even with all the craziness that goes on in that city, people are always willing to be happy and have a reason to just go crazy and nuts and enjoy themselves. For the first time in Karachi, you do not see that. And it's sad. It's really, really sad. How did we come to this point? Honestly, how did we come to this point? What did we do wrong? One thing I always used to feel good about is that people would come out of their houses to help the ones who were in need. And as of late, even when there are deaths around us, people don't want to come out. They're scared of getting COVID. They're scared of infecting maybe the elder in their house. And there's just this fear that's eating up at everyone. People are trying to be positive. They're trying to find, like, I mean, people. I know some people who started doing meditation classes. Other people who started doing music classes. But then again, the privileged are the ones who can do all of this. What about those who can't afford it all?
I'll jump back to, I guess, the role of, I guess I'm curious to explore the role of youth. What do you feel like the opportunities for young, young Pakistani, whether it be business leaders, cultural leaders, is going to be on the other side of this period of time?
The youth has a major role to play in all this because they're the ones who are well versed with how social distancing works. So not only are they now responsible for their own safety, but they're also responsible for the safety of their household. They can, if they are positive, they can bring back that change in their house. And also in terms of work, I feel like there'll be so many, once the pandemic settles down, although a lot of people have lost their jobs, a lot of numbers are out there. But even then, I feel like as soon as it settles down and work restarts, people will again want to bring in new employees because, I mean, who's going to continue the business, right? And especially in terms of health, more than ever, I feel like a lot more help will be needed in the healthcare sector. I mean, we'll see how it goes economically. I do feel it's not going to be too bright anytime soon, and I feel this year is going to be difficult for most countries, especially for the low income and developing nations. But I feel like next year is going to be a lot better.